Do we have a motion to return to regular session?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion from Mr. McQuillan, a second from Ms. Tanner to return to regular session. All in favor of returning to regular session, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it by a vote of 8-0. For the record, no action was taken in executive session. We are in regular session. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Remain standing for a moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
Thank you. You may be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we may be aware, all may be aware of the governor's executive action that was taken a while ago, this evening, this afternoon late. So if you want to address the board under the comments and the governor's proclamation has satisfied your concerns, then you certainly do not have to come before the board, but if you want to, you certainly can. And I will certainly call your name for that. So, citizens' comments procedures. In order to conduct the meeting in an orderly and efficient manner, we ask that you honor the following guidelines. Stakeholder comments are welcomed and encouraged. However, the board will not take immediate action on public comments at this meeting. Any person wishing to address the board must register prior to the meeting. Comments must be regarding programs, policies, or procedures. Comments regarding complaints against employees other than district-level executives or references to students other than the child of the speaker will not be heard in public session. Groups addressing the same topic should select one speaker. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes per speaker. The board chair reserves the right to allot additional time or to halt public comments that do not adhere to the guidelines. First speaker is Ms. Ann Conder under Board Duties and Transparency. Welcome, Ms. Conder.
The hiring of the school superintendent, who shares the community's visions and values, is a huge responsibility of the board. But the hiring process of others within the district should not be your focus. However, if the board deems it necessary to be involved in that hiring process, then it's my understanding that you must follow the FOIA guidelines as if hiring at the superintendent level. I might add that hiring an employee is entirely different from going under contract with consultants, counselors, advisors, etc. All of these folks have contracts that can be terminated at the pleasure of the board. Such folks are not employees of the district. They are contracted, and each contract contains severability clauses generally favorable towards the district. For example, far removed from the employing or hiring of Mrs. Richardson, Mr. Whitley was brought in under contract and retainer to serve initially as interim legal counsel for the district. How do I know? I was there. For example, our then board gave him a shot because he had an impeccable reputation was well respected in the community, is a native of Berkeley County, practiced in Berkeley County, serves in Berkeley County, and had a reputation of working for the best interest of his community. He also agreed to give us a bargain rate that no other lawyer of his caliber would have agreed upon. As he began his contractual service, he was able to recapture over $2 million in revenues lost by Mr. Brantley Thomas, helped put Brantley behind bars, was able to bring 2 other miscreants to trial who were also found guilty of misuse of district facilities, and recovered Brantley's retirement funds that continue to be paid to the district. Thus, we continued retaining Mr. Whitley because of his abilities to recover monies, provide sound legal advice, and continue to keep at bay corruption and theft within our district. We got a real deal. He received payment for services provided, not a paycheck. Unlike Ms. Richardson, he was never employed by the district with contingencies only an employee can enjoy. He was contracted. We also contracted and retained other lawyers who specialized in labor relations, real estate law, etc., as the needs arose. In case you've forgotten, Mr. Wright, who is not here, I see, again, there was a huge difference between how we contracted with Mr. Whitley and how the hiring of Ms. Richardson occurred. We were open, we were honest about his contract, and it was never debated behind closed doors. There was no HR committee formed, and what appears now to many of us an attempt to circumvent public review. There was no question about transparency.
Excuse me, Ms. Conner, your time is up. Thank you.
Good, I'm finished.
Next speaker is Terry Hardesty. The concern or comment is FOIA regarding David Barrow.
Does that follow policies, procedures, and what was the other thing?
We'll allow Mr. Hardesty to speak.
This is a letter from Nancy Childs written to Catherine Long Mahoney when she was representing the school district in Childs and Halligan. Dear Ms. Mahoney, I represent a 12-year employee of the Berkeley County School District who has been sexually harassed by her supervisor and subjected to a sexually hostile work environment for a number of years. I've evaluated this case as described below and will recommend that she settle and release all claims for the relief requested below. The facts in Mrs. X's case certainly fit within the law existing in the Fourth Circuit on hostile work environment. Clearly, the administration knew about the harassment of Ms. X by Mr. David Barrow as far back as the year 2000. Mr. Barrow constantly made comments about Mrs. X's appearance, frequently made kissing gestures with his lips and tongue, touched her arms and shoulders, and at one point called her into his office, blocked her exit while he changed his shirt. At that time, he asked her to change her clothing in front of him as well. She told him on numerous occasions to stop, and eventually complained about his harassment to the superintendent and assistant superintendent of the school district. Dr. Floyd, the superintendent, refused to hear any details about the extent of harassment from Mrs. X, instead preferring to bury his head in the sand. Dr. Floyd and Mr. Sanders, assistant superintendent, assured Mrs. X that they would investigate and failed to follow up with her. Even though Mr. Barrow moved to another job location, upon his promotion from principal to supervisor of the Berkeley Middle and High Schools, he continued to come to Mrs. X's office as part of his job, indicating that their investigation was superficial and not in compliance with the school district's own policy. A court would find that the school district failed to exercise reasonable care to prevent and correct promptly the harassing behavior. Instead gave Mr. Barrow carte blanche to continue to make frequent visits to Mrs. X's office to intimidate her with his shoulder rubs, comments, and leering looks. We believe there is ample evidence to corroborate Mrs. X's protest of Mr. Barrow's unwelcome conduct in the presence of supervisory personnel. The school district should have known the unwelcome conduct from Mr. Barrow continued until March 2004, when the district could not ignore it in light of the written complaint by Mrs. X. We feel confident that after the EEOC completes its investigation, there will be a for-cause determination of the sexual harassment and sexually hostile work environment. I'm going to stop here, and I will say that there was a finding of harassment by EEOC. Thank you.
The next speaker is Garris Davis, a curriculum concern. Mr. Davis, welcome.
Appreciate the opportunity, school board and to everybody that's in here, to get to say a few words. Can you hear me all right? Okay. Okay. Again, my name is Garris Davis, and I'm here on behalf of a group of parents and citizens. We live in Hanahan, and some of us have children in the K through 12 school system. This evening, we have a concern we bring to the school board, as well as a means of managing the concern. The concern centers on the New York Times sponsored history curriculum known as the New York Times 1619 Project. We feel, as do many scholars, important parts of the history presented in the 1619 curriculum lacks scholarship and vetting to support its authenticity. The first major area of that is controversial, as projects claim that the founding of our country was not in 1776 when we fought the Revolution for Independence from England, but rather it was in 1619 when the first slaves landed in America. The second major claim is the American capitalism was founded on violence upon slaves to get ever higher production of agricultural products such as cotton. To be sure, there was violence. Whether you are or are not familiar with the issues, you may reference a copy of 2 web links that we have brought that will save you a lot of time rather than wading through 1,000 web links where everybody is weighing in. The 2 links are important, and we consider them as source documents because they are inherently objective. One is a letter from scholars to the New York Times, the producers of the project material, challenging the material in its authenticity, as well as the response from New York Times. The other one is inherently objective in its actual excerpts from the New York Times curriculum. Now, some of you are familiar with this, I'm sure, and some of you aren't, but regardless, we recommend both of those links because they cut right to the chase and it'll solidify whatever your opinion is now. In addition, and we're running out of time, we want the Berkeley County school system to put a management process in place that will ensure that parents will be notified in advance before any of that curriculum makes it into the classroom. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker is Ms. Cindy McLaughlin, mask and school removal.
Thank you for allowing me to speak. I realize what you had said at the beginning about the
Yes, ma'am.
governor's statement, but I do want to still come up and express my concerns. My youngest daughter is in school in Berkeley County. She began going to school in 8th grade. I homeschooled all my children. My oldest 2 are graduated, grown. My youngest wanted to experience the public school system for herself. So in 8th grade, we allowed her to go to school. It was hard for her in the beginning because no one in the school at that time wanted to help her know what was going on. She had no idea how it even worked in the beginning. So it was very hard in the beginning, but we made it through. That was in 8th grade. Then she went in 9th grade, and then the COVID hit, the school shut down. So that was not a very good experience for her. And then this year, she's in school. She went traditionally at the beginning of this year, but did not make it through the first part of it because of the mask mandate. I have not worn a mask the entire time anywhere I have ever been, but she wanted to go to school, so I let her go. She didn't make it through because of that, so we brought her home to do the blended learning. Now, she is also in choir in school. They are made to wear masks when they have to sing. And I do not agree with that. If you've ever been in choir and you have had to take a deep breath to hold a note for the long period that you're supposed to hold that note, you are not able to do that when something is obstructing your breath for you to take that deep breath. But they are required to wear that. Now, I have to pay choir fees for her to be in choir. And when I went this past Saturday to see the schools, all elementary, middle, and a high school perform, I had to sit there and I could not even see the faces of those children. They looked so sad. Now, I know they were excited to perform, but they were sad. Their faces were sad looking. So I would just implore you that you take in consideration what the governor has said and let these children go back to school, all of them, even the blended, without masks, and let them get back to their lives. And then one other thing I want you to think about. If the roles were turned and on this COVID thing, and we told you that you were not allowed to wear a mask, how would you feel? That's all I have to say.
Thank you, ma'am. Next speaker is Ms. Christy Gore, mask/vaccines. Welcome, Ms. Gore.
Good evening. First off, I'd like to say that we do appreciate your service, even during these hard times. But second, I come to you as a parent tonight. I try to stay out of these board meetings to let you guys run this how you are elected to do so. I have a 15-year-old who has been highly affected by this COVID situation. Thank God that the governor has done an executive order today. He has not been able to play football because of a mask. Not COVID. We're not scared of COVID. It's health conditions because of a mask because he was born with acute asthma. He's not been able to socialize with his friends at school. I hope and highly encourage that you guys do follow this executive order. These children need to be back in school. My son was an AB honor student. It has affected his grades. It's affected him in his mental health. And also now my concern is, after watching the news last night, Charleston County is trying to pass where the vaccines are required for 12 years old and up. And I come to you as a parent pleading with you that all 3 of these vaccines are still in case studies. They're not due to pass a case study until 2022 and 2023. And as a parent, I am highly concerned about Charleston County trying to pass this and influence you guys to try to pass this requirement for a vaccine that has not even been approved, only for emergency conditions. And at most, we just want pro-choice. Pro-choice for masks, pro-choice for vaccines. If someone else's child wants to wear a mask, so be it. If someone else's wants their child to have the vaccine, so be it. But just have respect for both sides of this. It's hard enough for these children not being able to have a normal school experience, and it's very concerning for as a parent. I see my son, these are the best years of his life. He's 15 years old, and he is missing out on the best years of his life because of a mask and possibly now a vaccine requirement. So I ask you as grandparents and as parents to think about that and just give us a choice in this matter. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. The next speaker is Dr. Chris Hanley, Board Administrative Procedures. Welcome, Mr. Hanley. Dr. Hanley, excuse me.
Chairman Barrow, Dr. Ingram, members of the board. So I noticed yesterday that this board had an executive session to discuss compensation and benefits for a future superintendent. Thought that was a little odd because you would think that those would be negotiated after the superintendent is chosen. And then I arrived today and found that you were having a session with one of those candidates, which I'm glad to see, but I would have liked to have seen that advertised a little bit better. I would have liked to have attended. I would have liked to have heard what your candidate had to say. You know, it's important that we, the public, get a chance to hear from these candidates, that we have the opportunity to discuss with them their feelings about issues that go on in our schools. Unfortunately, I think this is showing the same kind of pattern of the lack of transparency that the board showed in hiring the last high-profile hire. Just like your last hire, we're curious if you've already made your choice and that you've already possibly begun the contractual agreement negotiations, and that the only time you're going to allow public comments is after the ink is all but signed on the paper. As with the last hire, we request that you would stop the process until we have the opportunity as a public to get to know these candidates and then the opportunity to comment to the board. It would then be appropriate for the board to have a hearing to debate the merits of each candidate. The second issue I would like to discuss quickly is the proposal to waive the educational requirements to promote students who have only successfully completed half of the required core subjects. Although I agree that the last 14 months have been very difficult for many students, as well as for our country as a whole, passing students who have not been successful does them no favors. They are likely to be perpetually behind and playing catch up for the remainder of their academic careers. Please reject this proposal, not as a punishment for students or teachers, but as an act of mercy for those students, and allow them to be successful in their futures later on. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker is Patrick Bleimeister, the governor's executive order. Is it Patrice? It looked like Patrick. I'm sorry.
There you go.
I apologize.
All right, no problem. The executive order is passed today, and that's awesome for choice. My thing is on April 29th, the governor actually put out a video, and on there, he literally said that this is an issue that was up to the parents and not the schools and school board. And then when I emailed the appropriate point person that you've told, they said it didn't matter. So my thing is how is this going to go? Because I've always felt like in the school, actually, the wording was encouraged, and the governor lifted the mask mandate. The school people, they told me it didn't matter. It was still going to be required. And of course, there's a difference in those definitions. And I really think schools should know that. But how's that going to work? This is an executive order from our governor. Is somebody going to get to override that? That's my biggest thing. The other thing is they've mentioned vaccine passports. And then the other one is someone mentioned, talking about the 1619 project, and they said they want to know about it before it starts. Well, I'm here to tell you it's already there. If you have brain pop on your children's Chromebook, I don't even have the subscription, and I can get on there and certain ones come up. And every one of them, whether it be Black Lives Matter, whether it be gay pride or whatever, those are free. But if I really want to read about somebody, then I got to have it. But if I want to get on my granddaughters, all that's there. To me, why is anything about gay pride, Black Lives Matter, or anything like that on anything in elementary school? Those kids don't know their own sexuality, much less what the next whatever genders that people want to talk they have. Okay, so it's here. Look on your kids' Chromebooks. Know what's going on because it's underneath our noses again. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Nicole Rubrics, school requirements, ? Welcome, ma'am.
Yeah, I put question mark because at that point we weren't sure exactly what was going on with McMaster. I obviously know how I feel. You guys obviously know, those that were here last time, how I feel and how ultimately my children feel, because it's not really about me, it's about them. So kind of just to piggyback on both what they said, is this, and I know you guys can't answer us, obviously, but are these things going to be followed through with what the executive order is, or are you guys going to try to make your own decisions? I say this because I've seen schools, just like you guys have your rules as encouraged, schools still making their own decisions saying, oh, no, it's required. Even when we can present to them, it says encouraged, doesn't mean required. Medical forms from doctors saying, my children or these children should not medically be wearing one. They're going through depression, anxiety, whatever's. And still to be forced to wear them, even though it's going against your protocols or against your wording, at least, if nothing else. So my thing is I just want to make sure that the executive orders are going to be followed out through the district and the schools. Ultimately, the schools that we can come to you guys if the schools are breaking the protocols or if they're breaking the executive orders and forcing things on our children that should not be forced on them. And also, with the vaccines, I mean, we obviously are still unaware of a majority of things, what they're going to do with them, how they're going to go about, how they're going to force whatnots. Ultimately, if we could just put an ear bug or a worm in your ear, just to think about at least allowing us to choose if we have that for our children, because we are parents. We choose if we give them vaccines from birth. We choose to give birth to them. We make all these choices. We should not have those choices taken away and forced on them. So basically, I'm just coming to say, I hope you guys follow through with the executive order. Don't try to fight it. Don't do anything else. And let that be your thing with the teachers that want to complain. Hey, it's executive order. Sorry, we got to do it. At least you guys get your way out. But for us parents, I'm grateful for it, and I'm hoping that you guys can enforce it. And also, how can we guarantee and when will this start? Tomorrow? If yes, no. If no, I don't know. So if you guys can get that out to us as soon as you can, and if it's a form, I can sign it tonight, have it notarized in the morning, and I'll send it with my kids. Whatever I have to do, you guys just let it know. I've already been sending them with your protocols, the encouragement, gave them the definition. I am very important, and it's very important for my children to get this taken care of. So I appreciate your time.
Thank you. The next speaker is Karen Parker, Vaccines and Curriculum. Welcome, Ms. Parker.
Good evening, and thank you again for your time. I don't want to repeat, but I will reinforce, I guess. It shifted a little bit today, so I'm very proud of our governor, and I know that y'all would have done and made the right choice anyway, and I appreciate the time that y'all spend, and I know y'all are fielding a lot of calls, a lot of emails, and I know there's a lot of things to look at when making these decisions, so I appreciate what you're doing. Next on our agenda is we are getting started in Berkeley County. We are organizing. We are going to be active and involved in what's happening in our children's school. Of course, like the curriculum is on agenda for us, and the vaccines are going to be on agenda for us. So if there are any parents, teachers, staff, principals, anybody out there that are concerned about the vaccines being mandated, if you will text 843-900-7157. Again, text 843-900-7157 so we can get organized and get ready for the future. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. The next speaker is Tony Sims on COVID misinformation. Tony Sims. Welcome, Mr. Sims. You may have to speak kind of loud.
Thank you, everybody.
We can't hear you, Tony.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Anthony Sims. I'm a registered nurse here at Tri-County, in the Tri-County area. I work at a 28-bed ICU, level 2 trauma center, critical care. I have been dealing with this past year, the whole time since the start of it. I have national certification in critical care nursing and trauma care nursing. I teach new nurses in critical care, and I follow evidence-based practice along with surgeons, other hospitalists, intensivists, pulmonologists, in order to do what we need to do. Can you hear me? Still hear me? No? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Still good?
Yes.
We could, yeah, you're going to have to speak right into that, Mr. Sims.
Going to need to.
Thank you.
What I would like to talk about is my concern. I'm not quite sure the public understands what we see in the hospital setting day to day, okay? I'm not sure you know what it's like to breathe with 100% oxygen on your face and still not be able to catch your breath for days before we decide it's necessary to intubate you in order to save your life, and we know still then 80% chance that you will not come off the ventilator. That's what we were dealing with. Those patients that I had didn't care whether I voted left or right, up or down, sideways, what my political beliefs were. You know what they wanted from me? To care for them, to do what was best for them, to save them. They wanted their family, and they couldn't be in there. I was a stranger to them, but I held their hand and prayed with them when they asked for it. I used my personal phone to do FaceTime with their family to give them updates at the bedside with them. I would leave these shifts and come home, turn the TV on, and see one station say one thing and another say another thing. And it was disheartening, especially from a profession that up until then voted at the highest rate of trust in this country. So why are you not believing us then when we had to enact these measures? All we asked was for certain things to be put in place to decrease the risk. Now, you have valid points. My concern is we're taking truths and weaponizing it and immobilizing it, but it's not the whole truth, right? Yes, there is a 1% death rate. Yes, children are less likely to get it, right? But here's the rest of it. What does 1% look like at 1,000 new cases in a tri-county area with only maybe 200 ICU beds? What happens to my trauma patients from motor vehicle accidents, gunshot wounds and stabbings? What happens to strokes and heart attacks?
Your time is up, but I appreciate your comments. Thank you, sir.
So that's it. And I'd like to submit evidence-based practice research on masks and
Yes,
why it was
thank you.
necessary.
Next on the agenda is any action as required for items from executive session. First, the only student expulsion appeal.
Chairperson Bear, on the matter of student one, I move that we grant the expulsion appeal under the conditions and qualifications discussed in executive session, which are to be handled by the administration.
We have a motion from Mr. McQuillan. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second from Ms. Marone for the administration to handle under the guidelines as discussed in executive session. Do we have, may have all in favor say aye?
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? The ayes have it, 8-0, the motion carries. The next item is temporary committee assignments. We do not need to have any temporary assignments because the majority of the board members are present. I need a motion to recess so that the committees may deliberate.
So, second.
I have a motion by Mr. McQuillan, a second by Ms. Tanner. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed, nay? The ayes have it unanimously, 8-0. Ms. Littleton.
I'm calling the Committee on Academics and Innovation to order. I declare that there's a quorum of committee members present and note that the media has been given proper notice pursuant to the Freedom of Information Act. The first agenda item is the Head Start Budget Expenditure Report for March 2021 and Head Start Credit Report for March 2021. What is the pleasure of the committee?
Madam Chair, I make a motion to approve the Head Start Budget Expenditures Report for March 2021 and Head Start Credit Card Report for March 2021.
Second.
We have a motion by Dr. Wickfall and a second by Mr. Ramsey. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Passes 3-0. Second agenda item is promotion criteria for students in grades 6 through 8. Dr. Anthony Dixon, you're recognized.
Good evening. The recommendation from Academics and Innovation is to approve a one-year exemption to the promotion criteria of students in grades 6 through 8 for 2020-2021 school year by modifying the following sections. That's BCSD policy IKE, grades 6 through 8 promotion criteria, and criterion 1, modification to read as follows: the student has earned passing grades in the following 2 core courses: English Language Arts and Mathematics, grades 6 through 8, end of year promotion, retention, status retained for summer program. The modification to read as follows: a student may take in a district-approved summer program up to 2 core academic courses through content recovery in ELA and math that he or she failed during the regular school year. A student mastering the core ELA and math courses through the regular school year and summer content recovery will be promoted at the conclusion of the summer programs.
Dr. Dixon, I have some questions and concerns.
Yep.
So you haven't, well, my first question is, what are you doing at the elementary level?
So right now, if you look in the policy, the elementary level has a criteria, has 3 different criterion to pass, and then the middle school has 1, and so elementary has to meet 1 of the criterion. So the criterion is separated for elementary in ELA and math, science and social studies, and the 3rd criterion being attendance. And for middle school is 1 criterion that says ELA, math, science, and social studies, and attendance. And so theirs reads that they must pass all, meet all of the criterion, which is just 1. And then elementary says they must meet 1 of the criterion, which would be either criterion 1, criterion 2, or criterion 3. And then the elementary, to do that, they have their reading and summer, their reading summer camps, and they also have additional summer components that the schools put in place.
So they have to do math, ELA, and either science or social studies at the elementary level?
So on the policy that I was looking at, so criterion 1 says they need to have pass ELA and math and/or math. And then criterion 2 separates it to science and social studies. So it's a matter of how it's outlined, and criterion 3 identifies it as attendance. So the retention piece that's described in the policy states they have to meet 1 of the criterion, or not meet 1 of the criterion to be retained. So that means either ELA and math, or science and social studies, or attendance.
Okay.
Not
so
all
let's
3.
talk 8th graders.
Correct.
You're going to send 8th graders off to high school, and they didn't pass any science or social studies, and last year, the 4th quarter, we kind of gave a reprieve there. So now we're talking really, a year and a quarter that we're going to give them a break?
So now, no, what it's helping do, like the middle schools are putting on they're doing content recovery now for all subjects. Mm-hmm. However, students cannot attend summer school if they don't make all of those, they only can go to summer school for ELA and math. And then so students can't get to summer school because they're failing 4. So what they want to do is work with the students during the content recovery. Now, if they're failing 4 subjects, to help them recover the content to get to a passing area, so students are still being held accountable in order for them to attend summer school for ELA and math.
So
The 1 year exemption. So there's just a 1 year exemption to be able to do that. And then we will look at the policy so it can mirror how elementary looks, ensure that we're putting students can either go to summer school for all 4 areas, or they can go to summer school, you know, instead of going to summer school for only 2 areas.
Okay, and so what are we saying to our social studies and science teachers in the middle schools?
Right.
I'm treading that, because did this come from principals? Did this come from district office?
Right.
Where did this?
So this came from recommendation of principals in the middle school. And
All
so,
of them?
Well, not all of them, but they all talked about it. They all talked about the content recovery, and they all talked about the benefits that it could be for their students.
Okay, and why can't we just do at least one?
Right.
Do you see what I'm saying? I know that
understand
there
what
are
you're saying.
students, I know
Right.
there are students that just didn't even try.
Right, and so that's why we're bringing it to the board, you know, for this discussion and as a recommendation, so we can have this dialogue, you know,
Okay.
among each other.
I'm struggling real hard with science and social studies.
Understand.
And I don't want to send a message to the teachers that their jobs are not important and that they should feel undervalued with it. And I also don't want to send a message to parents and students that for the next however many days we have left, what are we at, 25, I think, that your child doesn't have to do anything.
No, and definitely that's not the message, because they're going to be implementing content recovery in all subject areas until summer school.
Okay.
So it's an opportunity to get students to summer school.
Okay. I
understand.
I just feel like maybe we should look at least 3 of them. And if that 4th, they're at least trying and attempting. It's just my thoughts.
Okay.
Dr. Dixon, can you give me an idea of the number of students that are currently not passing those 2 subjects?
I can definitely get those specific numbers for you, but I know in talks to one principal there have almost 300 students that are not passing all 4 subjects.
That's in one school?
Mm-hmm.
Dr.
And it could
Dixon,
be from not participating, you know, a number of things.
years ago, the promotion retention policy in the middle levels was basically what Ms. Tanner was referring to.
Mm-hmm.
You had to pass ELA and math in either social studies or science, and then there was a move afoot to require all 4 for promotion. I get where we're going, but it looks like we're, I hate to say it, watering it down a little bit too much.
I understand.
So I'm concerned about that. I have spoken directly with some teachers and some administrators that would like to have some more conversation about this before the board actually votes this up or down.
Yes.
Okay.
Agree.
Sounds good.
I think there needs to be conversations with everyone.
Correct.
I think there needs to be conversations with the school principals, the teachers, the students, and the parents. And the reason for that is I think that's also another side that we're not seeing, right? So we're seeing that the students are behind, right? For example, there's 300 in one school. So let's just say if we do what's proposed and we forgive, and these children that are in 8th grade, they go to high school. So now they're starting behind, right? And then they're going to continue, and they're going to continue to struggle. We're not really doing a justice for them, right? So I think that with this being a year of craziness, right? It's black, white, it's gray, it's yellow, it's pink, it's everything. And knowing that choice has been the word of the year, I would probably say, choice, right? And we're here for one reason, and that's education, bottom line. So I think that we need to revisit this, get the right numbers, get the information, get the data, see where the students are, each grade level, the schools, break it down more specifically, math, science, social studies, ELA, and let's see how we can work together. And I'm just asking, and I'm just asking because I'm the type of person that I like to put everything out there for the summer schools programs. Is it just going to school? Have we talked about doing anything virtual to have our students be able to catch up? Is there any self-assessment things that our students can do at home so then maybe they can take courses and work with the parents, and maybe parents can maybe help teach and do something like this? Is it just black and white, or have we talked about other options to get our students ahead?
No, and I want to, hopefully I can clarify the voice of the middle school principals who, shared this concern, that they're not just allowing students, it's more on just not passing students, because they are going to focus on, testing comes, and they're looking at each individual student now and ensuring, like, if you're not passing a course, what you would typically go through during a learning year, and that's what they've done, is content recovery. And so what content recovery does is they look at the academic standards for a specific subject that a student is not meeting, and they provide individual, personalized instruction or content recovery on those specific areas until the student meets the standards there and meets it to where they're receiving a passing grade. So content recovery is not a new concept in middle or high school, but I certainly understand your request of, seeking more data to share, but I do want to make sure I just emphasize that it's not a give up or allowance of students to pass, but it is that the teachers have, they work hard throughout the year, and if a student is not passing, by interims or the end of the quarter, that they are helping students recover the content, and they're going to focus on that until the end of the school year in order, so students, like right now, if you were failing, 4 areas, the students could not go to summer school at all. So they want to be able to say, okay, give you an opportunity. You're failing 4 areas from June until, from June 2nd until June 17th. We're going to focus our content on 2 of those areas, your content recovery, and get you to where you're meeting those standards and meeting those expectations. So you're passing it. So now you're failing, 2 subjects, and I can send you to summer school. Right now, as it stands, they wouldn't be able to go to summer school for all 4 subjects. So it's just one extra push and one extra effort for the principals and the teachers. But just wanted to, make sure I clarified that and not give you a false sense that it's an opportunity just to say, hey, we're going to let it go, we're going to pass a student, but more so we are going to be able to hone in on like 2 subjects for the students who are failing 4, recover the content instead of overwhelming a student who is already, if they're failing 4 because of, not participating, it's because they're probably either unmotivated or overwhelmed, and I'm failing 4 subjects. I won't be able to get to summer school, so I'm just going to give up. So they're going to recover the content.
I do have one more question. And the only reason why I'm asking this is because when we said the 300, the audience was like, oh. So if that was the reaction from here, I can only imagine what the rest of the 37,000 parents are saying. So do our parents know where their child stands?
Yes.
Can every parent say, yes, I know where my child stands right now? And I'm not saying, I'm not asking for someone to answer that right now.
We're just helping.
But I'm just saying that this is an opportunity, I think, for us to just
This is what, yes.
to think and answer and then be able to relay that message back. And that's all I'm saying.
I understand. And this is what parents are doing. This is what the principals are doing, not only principals, but the teachers. They're calling these, students. They're having conferences. They're doing them either virtually. Guidance counselors are involved. Our social workers are working extremely hard, making home visits to say, hey, look, this is where we are. We need you to come back in, or we need you, to log in if you don't feel safe coming in, and we need you, to participate. And so the schools are really, principals are working very hard, and teachers are working extremely harder to ensure that they're calling these parents and letting them know where they are.
parent involvement is key.
Parent involvement is key.
One last thing from me. Parents are allowed to appeal promotions and retentions.
Yes.
Is it your hope or intention that this will alleviate that? Because
I mean, you.
as a mom, so I'm taking my school board hat off, but
Right.
as a mom, I could say a couple things here, but if my child was in this position, I'll be doggone. You don't get the pie if you didn't do the work.
I think a lot of parents would want to say that in the perfect world, and then when that child comes to them and they're, teary-eyed or they have some, I don't think all parents may. I agree. So I would want every parent to have that same choice that you're sharing. And so we got parents across the board that may not. So we do get a number of appeals throughout the summer.
And I get it. You are retained one time, you have like a 50% chance of graduating. You're retained 2 times, it's like 90%. I get it.
Right.
So, but I guess numbers,
Okay.
where Kathy was headed with that was a good spot.
Yeah, the way I look at it right now is I would be derelict in my duty as a board member if I was to vote in favor for this at this time.
Okay.
This is completely dead on arrival for me at this time. This is kind of a serious issue of whether to wear a mask or not wear a mask, or whether to go virtual or not go virtual. This is an extremely serious issue. So with me personally, I do talk to some of the principals, I do talk to some of the parents, and I typically always want to support the administration and support the professionals, the people who are doctors in education who have done this for 20 plus years and got a consensus of when you add all this educators up, I mean, you probably get thousands of years.
Yes.
But until this is explained better and can make sense to me where I really see that it's benefiting the children, I get the summer school aspect of it, but just on the surface of it, like I say, at this time, I cannot be for this at all. First, like I say, we got to get some numbers. The board and the district has to get serious and take responsibility and say, hey, we got X amount of kids that have failed, okay? First thing is you take responsibility, okay? It's not a matter of blame, whether it's the parents' fault, whether it's our fault as a board for the policies we made, or whose fault. But we got to take responsibility and be honest about it, because it's a lot of kids that's going to fail. And like I say, we've been through basically World War III this past year with COVID. I mean, my own children, like I say, do you know where your children stand? I know exactly where my children stand, and they've done worse this year than they've done any year in school. Now, they've weathered through, but it's been a mentally challenged year for my kids, and they come from the best, perfect 2 parents, full support environment. I mean, been blessed since the day they were born, unlike a lot of our poor little babies that aren't, that are fighting many fights. So, yeah, we still need a lot of work on this one. I appreciate the administration trying to find solutions, but like I said, just on the surface, until I get educated more on this, until we know what the numbers are, I will not be for this plan. Thank you.
Sure.
What was the term you used? The alternative term for learning loss?
Unfinished learning.
Unfinished learning.
Yes.
And so, as I hear you, this is what you're doing as the administration with your professional career is you're looking at what's best for students, and you've got an opportunity to make it less rigorous, to give them an opportunity to catch up or hold that student back. That's what you're ultimately trying to avoid, is holding that student back because they're failing?
Yes, but not make it less rigorous. I think that's what everyone's hearing. We want to make sure that we can put a bird's eye view on, instead of the entire pie for a few weeks, put the bird's eye view on the most crucial pieces of the pie for now until the end of the school year, when we'll have them all day and have more hours to dedicate to just focused instruction on those areas. And then if those students are successful with that content, so we're still finishing the learning, they're still being required to meet said standards in those areas. Now they can take the other half of the pie for summer school. And so this is giving them an opportunity to get to summer school, but we're taking, yes, I understand what you're saying is making it more clear or understandable, but it's chunking the pie. Right, it doesn't say that, yeah.
What it says, all right, you got to pass to math and
Correct.
the English. Okay, you can take the math and the English in summer school. Okay, well, what about the science and the Social Security? And the Social Studies. You don't, right? You need Social Security too. But what about,
Might be losing that too.
I mean, you don't pass.
Don't
that
take
in
it away
class,
from me.
You don't pass that in the summer. And I know there's a big push
Right.
nowadays that Social Studies doesn't seem to be as important, and maybe science isn't important, because I know we always go back to the old 3 R's, you know, but.
No, it's definitely, all of those are a push, because when you're in high school, you have a chance for 32 credits, and all of those include science, social studies, English, math, and, electives such as fine arts,
That's where you
ROTC.
pick it up, is in high
No, I don't say you pick it up there, but we take it seriously from K through 12.
Is there any other discussion?
I think some board members want data. It'd be helpful to have the data for some of the board members.
Sure.
I'm not on this committee, so I can't vote in favor of it. If I was, I would vote on it, because you're the academic and curriculum expert. I'm not.
Right.
And this
The
is,
interim academic and curriculum.
yeah, no, that's right. But I appreciate you bringing this to the board. I don't want you to think that
No, I don't.
we distrust you or don't think you're qualified.
No, no.
I don't feel that way at all. I feel
Okay.
like there's a recommendation
no.
to the board to obtain the feedback that we need.
Just had
I
questions.
haven't had a chance to ask a question, so if I could ask one really quickly. So my concern about whether we select this solution or a different solution is timing.
Correct.
Because I saw it also on the full board agenda tonight. So that makes me think that we're under some kind of time pressure. So if we don't take up some kind of motion out of committee tonight and bring that to the full board,
Well, I
will we
think.
be able to take action in a timely, no matter what you decide, can we take timely action for kids?
I believe that if we need to go back and get the data and, get more or seek additional clarification, we can work with middle school principals and our coordinators, and we'll come back again in May, and the content recovery piece was going to begin in June, so that still will give us some time. It was just giving principals and teachers time to at least get preliminary numbers and get started on preparation, so we can still have time.
And the data is not just for me. The data is for the public and for everyone else to see. I trust everything that you guys are doing, but the data is just for the public can see why we're choosing and what we're doing.
Totally understandable.
Dr. Dixon, I appreciate your presentation. If we could get that data back, I'd appreciate it, and I'm not going to call for a motion at this time.
Will do. We'll bring it back.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
I agree.
All right.
You have a question? Thank you, Dr. Dixon.
Thank you.
Before you close out? Okay. I would just like to interject with a question, and this is for you, Ms. Smith. Just wanted some clarification on the step increase. Will Head Start employees be included? Can you just give us an update on that in regards to step increase?
Certainly. With Head Start employees, they will not receive a step increase. They are not on Berkeley County School District salary scale, and I believe at the last meeting, a 1.22% increase a cost of living increase was provided to Head Start.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Good?
Yes.
At this time, I will entertain a motion to adjourn the committee meeting so that the Finance and Capital Committee meeting.
So moved.
Second? Motion by Dr. Wigfall, second by Littleton. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 3-0. Mac, it's all yours.
I'm calling the Committee on Finance and Capital Planning to order. I declare there's a quorum of committee members present and note that the media has been given proper notice pursuant to the Freedom of Information Act. The first agenda item is out-of-state travel. Ashley Smith, you're recognized.
Good evening, Chairman McQuillan, board members, and Dr. Ingram. Administration is recommending for approval the out-of-state travel as presented on board docs.
Make a motion to approve the out-of-state travel as presented. Do we have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor, please respond by saying aye. Aye. Ayes have it, 2-0. The second agenda item is the first reading of General Fund Budget 2021-2022. Ms. Smith, you are again recognized.
Thank you. This is the first reading of the 2021-2022 General Fund Budget. This budget was developed based on several expectations: no increase in millage and maintaining millage of 151.8, a 5% increase in local tax revenue, a reduction in EFA based on our projections received from Ways and Means, and based on the same formula allocations as the previous year. This chart shows our millage over the past 10 years and our current millage rate at 151.8. The projected revenue for 21-22 totals $328.4 million, which includes our local tax revenue, fee in lieu of taxes, EFA funding, state aid to classrooms, teacher salary and bus driver aid, local property tax relief, merchant inventory, a PIBA credit for retirement, indirect cost, miscellaneous revenue, and funds expected based on student growth in the district. Our total projected expenditures equal $324.8 million. 82% of the projected expenditures are in salaries and benefits at $266.6 million. $2.5 million for our self-insured workers' compensation program, which includes 2 positions. Insurance at 5.3, utilities, including water, electric, and gas, is $10.5 million. Purchase services, including Kelly Services, is at $18 million. Supplies at 15.8, additional school support at 1.9, transfers 171,000, and positions required for growth is at 716,000, which includes 4 APs, 1.5 guidance, 2 custodians, 1 office clerk, and 1 attendance clerk. In summary, the projected revenue for 21-22 is $328.3 million, and operating expenditures total $324.8, leaving us with remaining funds to allocate of $3.5 million. The board has already approved the 2021 step increase along with the 2% salary increase, and administration is requesting funding for reading coaches in the amount of $349,000 and a step increase for 2021-2022 for all employees. It is mandated for teachers, but the total cost would be $3.3 million. Of the $3.3 million, $2.1 is the cost for teachers, and $1.1 is the cost for the remaining employees. In our discussions at the last board workshop, and as requested, administration has compiled a list of requests for board approval. 6 positions for the maintenance department for a total of $344,000. 2 psychologists to improve our ratios, shifting us from 1 to 1,149 to 1 to 1,082 overall. 2 positions for the Office of Communications, 1 school improvement coordinator for human resources, 5 ESL teachers to be utilized across the district based on need, 3 adult ed teachers, 1 AP position at St. Stephen's Middle, athletic trainer supplements, and 2 assistant track coaches per high school, and 1 paralegal. If we fund all of these requests, this will require a designation of fund balance in the amount of $7.7 million. Before we ask for a motion, I wanted to mention a few items that we discussed in the workshops. We received notification of our ESSER 3 allocation, and it is estimated to be $72 million. Of the ESSER funds, 20%, which is $14.4 million, is required to be spent on learning loss. We have begun preliminary discussions on the use of ESSER 3 funds, and we will be reviewing the options for the 3rd grade class size reduction, additional days for power school clerks and media specialists, along with other recommendations, including capital projects at a later date. The last item I wanted to mention is the increase in board stipends. I included a list of all school board stipends across the state as information and some additional information for your review on board docs. If the board would like to add this item to the budget, we can amend the motion. Are there any questions?
Let me make the motion to approve first reading of the 2021-22 general fund as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? I'd like to start by saying this is just first reading.
Yes,
and so
sir.
this can be changed and amended.
Yes, it can.
Can you tell me how many of the positions that we added that are going to be coming out of the fund balance over and above what we had to spend, and what your opinion is as a professional about taking out reoccurring funds from the fund balance.
All positions would be recurring, and they are all coming out of fund balance. And as I have stated many, many times, I would be very cautious on putting recurring expenditures into a budget without the revenue to support it.
The reason is?
Because you are basically going into your savings. There is the potential that we could receive additional revenue in future years. However, I cannot guarantee that, but you would want to be careful dipping into your savings account over and over and over, just like you would in your own personal life. But these are administration recommendations, as we were charged with doing, but I would not be doing my job if I did not answer your question honestly. It is very, you have to be very careful when you consistently do things over and over that go into fund balance.
Thank you.
Do you
further discussion?
Sorry,
I wanted to ask the question about the paralegal at $71,000. Is that the salary and benefits?
That includes benefits,
And
yes.
Did I miss a conversation about a paralegal, or did someone input that separately? Because I don't recall talking about that in the board workshop.
That was not in the board workshop. When we discussed administrative recommendations, that came up as a topic of conversation. Dr. Ingram, would you like to elaborate?
And maybe my memory's too foggy. I thought that had been some conversation about that there would be a need, instead of simply a administrative assistant, someone with a background that could assist a legal person. So something doesn't have to be done now or immediately, but it might be something that the board would want to consider further down the road.
Is it, Dr. Ingram, is it in lieu of an administrative assistant, or is it in addition to an administrative assistant?
I think eventually, given the volume of work that we have in legal overall, I think it would eventually have to be, just in my opinion, in addition to someone who just answers the phone, things like that, just simply based on the volume of what we get. It seems like I get almost weekly, sometimes more than once a week, correspondence from attorneys that require responses. So I think that the workload could be challenging for any one person without some assistance. That's just, I don't have a legal background. It's just based on what I've seen over the years. We did note that, now, Ashley, correct me if I'm wrong, I actually think that some of the salaries for some of our executive assistants may actually be higher than, I'm not sure. It seemed like there was, at some levels, a paralegal may mirror or parallel what a regular administrative assistant would make, I guess, depending on the experience,
It
that
would
kind
be
of thing.
depending on the experience of the individual, yes, sir.
Right. But I don't think it's out of line with what some of our regular clerical folks make. I don't think. Some of them, maybe not all of them, but some of them. Is that accurate?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, 2-0. The motion is approved. The third agenda item is the 2021-2022 elementary, middle, and high school supply/travel allocation and high school sports formulas. Ms. Smith, you are again recognized.
If there are no questions, we are asking for a motion to approve.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the 2021-2022 elementary, middle, and high school travel supply allocation formulas and high school sports formulas as presented.
Second. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes. The next agenda item is IFB 584, 2021, Running Track Renovations and Resurfacing Projects, 2 schools. Ms. Smith, you are recognized again.
This project was an invitation for bid to secure a contractor to resurface and perform needed renovations to the running tracks located at Berkeley High School and Goose Creek High School. This was an extremely competitive bid process with a total of 6 bids received. This will be funded by our capital funds, awarded to Geosurfaces Southeast Incorporated for a base bid of $1,512,225 with an alternate bid. Our alternate one is $3,775 with a contract total of $1,516,000.
Thank you. Do we have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the award of IFB 584-2021 for running track renovations and resurfacing at Berkeley High and Goose Creek High to Geosurfaces Southeast Incorporated for a total project cost of $1,516,000 for the base bid and alternate one.
Second, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
Yes, when will those renovations start?
Diane, do you know when those renovations will begin? We anticipate they will start and end before football season.
That's what we're trying to do, and I can't remember the start date, and I apologize. Have to make sure you hear me say that I don't know.
You know what? I don't know is better than not saying anything, so that we appreciate that.
We'll get an answer, because I can't remember. They were supposed to start right away, but I don't remember.
So the plan is for it to be completed before football season?
Yes.
Okay.
This is actually going to be an action item as well to expedite this.
Yes, so that we can get started very soon.
I believe we discussed this in executive session at one point in time, too.
We did.
Okay.
Actually, it was open session as well. I believe we discussed it in the budget workshop.
We beat this horse dead. All right, we've got a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor, please respond by saying aye. Aye. Ayes have it, vote of 2-0. What item are we on? The next item is the 5th agenda item, RFQ 597, 2021, Roofing and Building Envelope Consultants for an indefinite delivery contract. Ms. Smith, you're recognized again.
This procurement process was conducted to select 2 firms to act as roofing and building envelope consultants for the district for the next 2 years for all major roofing replacements, repairs, and evaluations. Awarded as an indefinite delivery contract, the contract term shall be for a maximum term of 2 years or until the maximum value of $300,000 is reached. No single project shall exceed $100,000. This was a qualifications-based procurement, and the awarded vendors were the top 2 ranked firms based on scoring applied by the evaluation committee and will be primarily funded by capital and general funds. Awarded to the Building Envelope Enclosure Group, WM Building Envelope Consultants, LLC. Single project limit $100,000 with not to exceed $300,000 over a 2-year term.
Do we have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the award of RFQ 597, 2021 to the Building Envelope Enclosure Group and WM Building Envelope Consultants, LLC, as an indefinite delivery contract for roofing and building envelope consulting for a maximum term of 2 years or until the maximum contract of $300,000 is reached, with no single project to exceed $100,000.
We have a second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, 2-0. The next agenda item is IFB 601, 2021, Athletic Field Paint. Ms. Smith, you're recognized again.
This invitation for bid was conducted to leverage best pricing to obtain a source of supply for athletic field paint used by all high schools for various sports. The initial contract term shall be for 1 year, with the option to renew for 4 additional 1-year terms. The purchase made against this contract will primarily come from activity and general funds. Awarded to Pioneer Manufacturing Company with an estimated annual contract value of $30,419.04 and a total contract value for 5 years of $152,095.20.
We have a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the award of IFB 601-2021 for athletic field paint to Pioneer Manufacturing Company for an initial term of 1 year with an estimated annual contract of $30,419.04, with the option to renew of 4 additional 1-year terms for a potential contract value of $152,095.20.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it by a vote of 2-0. The next agenda item is IFB 605, Industrial Chemicals for Facilities. Ms. Smith?
Thank you. This invitation for bid was conducted to obtain a source of supply and leverage best pricing for a variety of industrial chemicals for use in the district's cooling towers, septic tanks, and other equipment and vehicles to be purchased on an as-needed basis to maintain warehouse inventory or deliver directly to specific schools or facilities. Award is recommended to the lowest responsive and responsible bidder, which would be Certified Labs. Estimated annual contract value, $37,061.63, with an estimated total contract value for 5 years of $185,308.15.
We have a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve IFB 605-2021 for industrial chemicals for facilities to be purchased on an as-needed basis for an initial term of 1 year for an estimated annual value of $37,061.63, with the option of renewal of 4 additional 1-year terms for a potential contract value of $185,308.15.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it 2-0.
Thank you.
The final item on tonight's agenda is the request to lease a portion of 132 Charles B. Gibson Avenue to the City of Goose Creek. Mr. Jackson, you're recognized. I understand Berkeley County Councilman Philip Obie is here as well.
Good evening, Chairman McQuillan, Dr. Ingram, members of the board. At this time, I'd like to invite Mr. Philip Obie and Mr. T.J. Roston, representing the City of Goose Creek.
Committee Chair McQuillan, committee members and members of the board, it's an honor to be up here presenting to you tonight a lease that we want to enter into with the City of Goose Creek to be able to put a park there at Sedgefield Middle. If I might, there's a few copies there of a presentation that kind of shows where the park's going to go. So across the street, if you might remember where Sedgefield Middle's at, is some vacant land there by the bus ramp. What we have within the City of Goose Creek is they also have a recreation department. So inside the recreation department, it does not include all areas that are inside the city proper. So as you look at this map, you'll see on the first page of the presentation that it shows you what the recreation district is in the entire city, and then highlighted in yellow, which is not part of the city but is inside the recreation district. What we'd like to do is be able to put a park in that yellow section over there by Sedgefield Middle for those folks that live in the Sedgefield, Willowbrook, and How Hall area to have a park over there. There are no parks currently in that area. If you flip to the third page, you'll see the outline aerial of the school, and then highlighted there in yellow is the area that the city would lease to be able to put the park in. And then on the back page of that is the final thing on what the city would be able to provide with putting that park there. They would be responsible for getting the funding to put that park there. They'd also put a fence around the park to be able to protect the kids that are playing in that park from running out into the street. And they would also take care of the grass cutting and also any trash pickup from that park. TJ, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, as Councilman Obie said, we'd love to be a part of this project. We do think that there's a need for park space in the specific area that you see there. As he mentioned, we do serve all of the city, but also what used to be the old recreation district. Our initial investment for this park would be anywhere from $55,000 to $75,000, which would include the playground as well as the fencing around it. Taking care of the yearly maintenance obviously would be up to us, which we do with all of our 13 parks across the city. So certainly would love to work with the school district and the county to make this happen. So if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer anything.
Thank you, sir. I make a motion to lease the parcel to the City of Goose Creek, subject to the following terms. The City of Goose Creek would cover any costs associated with the transaction. The City of Goose Creek would execute a disclaimer and indemnification agreements which would establish that the Berkeley County School District has made no representations concerning the parcel and will not have any continuing responsibility for the parcel while in use by the city. Do we have a second?
Second. Just a question.
Yeah, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
Yes, just what's the land mass we're talking about? Is it a half acre, or?
If you look at that entire yellow highlighted area, it's about an acre, but I imagine the park would take up probably about a half an acre, if not less, of that area.
Okay, and a lease agreement between the city and the school district?
That's correct.
Okay.
And would the city be covering liability insurance on that property?
Yes, we will.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it on a vote of 2-0. At this time, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. We have a motion to adjourn. All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned so that we can resume the regular meeting. Oh, we got another committee, I think.
Human Resources. I'm calling the Committee on Human Resources to order. We only have two items. I declare there is a quorum of committee members present and note that the media has been given proper notice pursuant to the Freedom of Information Act. First agenda item is the first reading approval to revise policy GCCAA, sick leave. Dr. Karen Whitley, you are recognized.
Good evening, Madam Chairman, Superintendent Ingram, and board members. We are asking for first reading approval to revise policy GCCAA, sick leave. This revision clarifies sick leave accrual. Sick leave will not be accrued during any period of unpaid leave. A full-time employee is a person employed in a position for which certification is required by the South Carolina Department of Education who works at least 30 hours per week. Other revisions include updated position title, and failure to provide documentation may result in unpaid leave.
What is the pleasure of the committee?
I move to approve the first reading to revise policy GCCAA, sick leave.
Second.
Have a motion from Ms. Sally Wofford and a second from Ms. Kelly Marone. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is approved, 3-0. Second agenda item is the first reading approval to revise policy GBC, staff compensation, payroll practices, and deductions. Dr. Whitley, you are again recognized.
Thank you. We are asking for first reading approval to revise policy GBC, staff compensation, payroll practices, and deductions. This revision will allow for charges for meals and other expenses incurred by the district for the benefit of an employee to be deducted from an employee's compensation if the employee fails to reimburse the district. Are there any questions?
What is the pleasure of the committee?
I make the motion to approve the first reading of the revised policy GBC, staff compensation, payroll practices, and deductions.
Second.
There is a motion by Ms. Kelly Marone and a second by Ms. Sally Wofford. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Motion carries 3-0.
Thank you.
At this time, I will entertain a motion to adjourn and return to the board meeting.
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Ms. Sally Wofford and a second by Ms. Kelly Marone. We are back in regular session.
I make a motion, I need a motion to return to regular session.
So moved. Oh, second.
Mr. McQuillan makes the motion, and seconded by Ms. Tanner. Any discussion? All in favor of returning to regular session, say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Ayes have it, 8-0. We were going to go to Ms. Littleton for the promotion criteria for 6 and 8, but we have tabled that.
Yes.
So we will go to Mr. McQuillan.
Mr. Chairman, the Committee on Finance Capital Planning met early this evening, and on recommendation of the committee, I move to approve the award of IFB 584-2021 for running track renovations and resurfacing at Berkeley High School and Goose Creek High to Geosurfaces Southeast Incorporated for a total project cost of $1,516,000 for the base bid and alternate one.
We have a recommendation from committee. No second is required. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Ayes have it, 8-0.
Mr. Chairman, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. McQuillan. Dr. Ingram, your superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, board members, staff members, members of the audience. I was prepared to read a statement that was collaboratively developed regarding the loosening of restrictions for face coverings. And I wanted to say that because I want the audience to know that we do listen. And in part, we were going to say that certainly children could be at their desks without face coverings, things of that nature, similar. But the governor's executive order supersedes all that, so I won't read the entire order of the governor, but it did, I was able, I think, this phone works, or maybe it's operator error here. And I'm reading from one of the local news sites, and it's got the governor in quotes. We've known for months that our schools are some of the safest places when it comes to COVID-19. With every adult in our state having the opportunity to receive a vaccine, it goes against all logic to continue to force our children, especially the youngest children, to wear a mask against their parents' wishes. Whether a child wears a mask in school is a decision that should be left only to a student's parents. And I would like to say that what I was going to read closely mirrors what the governor's executive order was, and we had prepared that prior to the governor's order. So, you know, as long as we get a good result, that's what we want. We want everybody to stay safe, and we certainly want our kids to be able to return to school as normal. With Aria back in school, I'm proud to say that we've got over 25,000 of our kids back in school and have been in school since September 8th. I have a colleague in California who and I think I've said this before, so forgive me for repeating myself, but they just went back to school April 12th in California, in some places, at least in this particular instance in the district. And I'm going to be, my home district actually just started back up just to the north of us, April 12th as well. So I think Berkeley's got a lot to be proud of in the fact that we've actually gotten a lot of our kids back in school. So that's a good thing. And I know we've still got challenges, and I am looking forward to full normalcy next year. So that was part of what I was going to say, but of course we're going to comply with the governor's executive order, I assure you. I would like to also congratulate several of our principals this year for winning the local Principal of the Year designation. Dr. Creighton Eddings for the elementary level at Mount Holly, Ms. Heather Taylor for the secondary level at Stratford High, Assistant Principals of the Year, Ms. Miriam Barr, Westview Elementary, for the elementary school assistant principal of the year, and Ms. Jaden Diaz, also from Stratford, as the secondary assistant principal of the year. And I would like to congratulate Principal Natalie Locklear of Foxbank Elementary for being named a patriotic principal by the Employee Support of the Guard and Reserve Organization. Saw Natalie today. She's thrilled to receive that award. And I would be, two other things I'd like to mention. Next time you see Christy Furrow, please congratulate her. Goose Creek Elementary Assistant Principal Christy Furrow. We've already mentioned that she's the State Assistant Principal of the Year for the state of South Carolina, but she's also a finalist for National Assistant Principal of the Year, which is a pretty big deal. So next time you see Christy, make sure you congratulate her on that feat. And also, I'd like to congratulate Dr. Missy LaBerge. Missy's not here tonight, but she's the principal of Cane Bay Elementary. She's the first graduate of the Clemson Doctoral Program addressing educational complexities across South Carolina. So congratulations to Dr. Missy LaBerge for that. Also, Mr. Chair, you have historically, board members, you have your meeting dates for the 21-22 school year in your packets. Historically, we do take a vote on that as part of my superintendent's report. So, Mr. Barrow, if you would like to make a motion, or have someone make a motion, or if there's a question or concern about any of the dates.
No, I'll make the motion. I'll make a motion to approve the 2021-2022 board meeting date for first reading as presented by the superintendent.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Barrow, a second by Mr. McQuillan. Do we have any discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimously, 8-0.
Mr. Chair, that concludes my report for the evening.
Thank you, Dr. Ingram. Just a couple of housekeeping notes for the board members. You should find a letter from Ms. Antoinette Jones, the Head Start Director, asking us to comply with the governance training. If you would go online and go through that training and then submit your name to Ms. Lacey, verifying that we have complied with that requirement, it would be appreciated. And secondly and lastly, I want to commend the board for the selection of the 3 finalists for the superintendent positions. We've interviewed 2 finalists, and tomorrow night we will finalize our in-house candidates. And we are wishing them all well. We're going to have a very tough deliberation, but hopefully in the next few days, we will be able to name our new superintendent, which will begin effectively on July 1. So do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion from Ms. Littleton, a second from Ms. Marone. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. We are adjourned.